Hello gardeners. I wanted to touch base with you today to go through the 4th grade potato grow kit. When you get your kit, it's going to look a little bit different than our other kits because potatoes grow quite large. So your kit is going to come in a 3-gallon planter bag. You're probably going to have 3 or 4 bags of soils inside as well. I ran out of bags, so I actually have my soil in buckets for purposes of this demonstration. But you'll have a lot of soil in here, and then you're going to have your bag. So let's take a look and see what is inside the bag. It's actually quite sparse. There's not much in here, but you get one very cool seed potato, and it should start looking like a bit of an alien. It's starting to get a little bit shriveled, and that's because as these potato plants start to grow, they are getting energy from the food of the seed potato, and it starts to shrivel up. So if it looks a little bit shriveled, that's okay. That's what's supposed to happen. Okay, and then you also have a clothespin that we're going to use to label our bag. Okay, in terms of soil, there's 3 different types that you are going to get with your kit. First off, you're just going to have some good old-fashioned compost. It's going to be nice and rich and dark brown. You are going to get some peat moss, and as we will learn in the 4th grade potato lesson, potatoes like some acidic soil, and so therefore we're using the peat moss to add some acidity. And then also, potatoes don't like the soil to be really soggy. So we are going to add some vermiculite. This is going to add some moisture retention while still allowing the soil to drain and not really get puddled around the potatoes so they don't rot out. Okay, so sugar snap peas, as you may have learned from some of my previous videos, are one of my favorite garden vegetables to eat. However, potatoes are my favorite vegetable to grow. They grow in a very unique way, which we'll learn about in our potato lesson, but they also are really fun to harvest because they grow underground, and similarly to carrots, you don't really know what you're going to get until you dig it up. So they're a lot of fun to harvest when they're finished growing as well. So in order to start our bag, what we need to do is add soil, and we're going to add it in different in a different mix of the compost, the peat moss, and the vermiculite. So what I usually like to do is take 4 scoops of the compost to every 1 scoop of vermiculite and 2 scoops of peat moss. So I'm going to put them all in front of me here. See if I can fit them all on this table. All right, here we go. I've got all of my different soils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by putting 4 scoops, or in this case, shovelfuls of the compost. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 scoops of peat moss, and 1 scoop of vermiculite. Now you're going to keep doing this in this ratio until you get about 4 inches worth of soil mixture in your bag. Okay, so right now I have about 1 inch, so I've got a little ways to go. So 1, 2, you can use, to scoop it, you can use a trowel like I am. You can also use a cup or even measuring spoons, like the measuring cups. Get your parents' permission, of course, before you start using it for dirt. So 4 scoops of the compost, 2 scoops of the peat moss, and 1 scoop of the vermiculite. And as you go, you can just kind of stir it up so it's well mixed. You'll see it's nice, light soil. Now, our soil is not that wet yet. It might be a little bit damp, but that's about it. So right now, I've got almost 3 inches of soil without packing it down. So I'm going to add 1 more round of my 4 scoops of compost. And if you're like me and you lose count every now and then, it's okay if you get an extra scoop in there. It does not have to be exact. 2 scoops of peat moss and 1 scoop of vermiculite. I'm going to go ahead and mix that up. All right. So once you have your 4 inches of soil, you can kind of tap it to pack it down a little bit without squeezing all the air out. What you need to do is you need to grab your potato. And all we're going to do, this is the easiest planting you'll ever do, you're just going to take it and you are going to place it in the soil. Now you want to place it with the little growths going up towards the top because those are the stems that are going to grow up out of the soil. Okay? And you can get each one of those, I'm going to point it out, each one of these little stems that are coming up are going to be a new potato plant. So not all of them may thrive, but you should get multiple stems coming out of the ground as they start to grow. Now, once you have your potato planted, they like to have the dirt hilled up on top of them. Now, I have probably a good about 6 or 7 inches left between my soil and the top of the bag. I'm not going to fill it to the top right now. I'm only going to put another 4 inches of soil on top. Once my potato starts to grow and my stems get to be about 6 or 7 inches from the ground to where the leaves are, then I can add some more soil on top. And as you'll learn in the potato lesson, the reason we want to do that is because the potatoes that are growing underground are actually growing off of stem pieces, not in the roots. And so those stem pieces, if you continue to add more and more dirt, more stem pieces will come off of that base stem and you'll get more potatoes. So, but we want to make sure that it doesn't take too much work or effort for the potato here to grow out through the soil so it can start collecting sunlight. So we don't want to fill it to the top right now. So I'm going to go ahead, and I know that I had to do 3 different rounds of the 4 scoops. So I'm just going to take my 4 and multiply it by 3 and do 12 scoops. 3, 5, 6, 've got all of my compost. I'm going to put, I was doing 2 scoops to every 4, so 2 scoops, 3 rounds. That's 6 scoops of the peat moss. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we did 1 to every 4, so we need 3 scoops of vermiculite. So 1 times 3 is 3. All right, so now we have all of our compost, our peat moss, and our vermiculite. When we stir this top coat around, we just want to be really careful that we don't hit the seed potato that we planted. So we'll just give it a little bit of a stir. Okay. So now, if I look at the bag, you'll see that there's still a good 3.5 inches between the soil and the top. And that's great because that'll give us more room to add soil as this grows, so that way we can get more potatoes out of it. Now, before we finish up here, and we can put this right outside now, as long as the temperature is above freezing, it can go outside. We want to put it in a sunny location. It will take at least a week for you to see anything come up above ground. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. So just know that it's not going to be super fast, but once they start growing, they do grow very quickly. So I'm just going to take some water, and I don't want to overwater this because we don't want that seed potato sitting in puddles of water. We don't want it to rot. So I just want to give it enough water so that it soaks in and there we go, and it's moist but not soupy. And this is a fabric bag, so the other reason to keep this outside is because if you overwater, it'll just drain out through the actual fabric parts of the planter. So that's it. It's actually really easy to plant our potatoes, and once our potato has finished growing, and I'll continue to post updates as this grows, but once it's done growing, we know that it's ready to harvest when the leaves start wilting away and dying off, so when the top starts dying off. And to harvest it, you can either just pick the potato right up out of the ground, and the potatoes sometimes are hanging from it, but sometimes the potatoes fall off when you do that. So the other thing we do is we just dump the bag upside down onto a tarp, and then the kids can go through and sort through all the dirt and find the potatoes. So they're a lot of fun, as I said. So that's it. Nice and easy. Oh, we do want to label it though, just so we know when we planted this. So I think I kicked my label onto the ground here. Let me grab that. All right, so we are just going to write that this is a potato, and the potatoes that I've been giving out in the kits are called White Superior. So if you want, you can write that down. They're just a smallish white potato. So I'm going to put White Superior, or White Sup, just because I don't want to have to spell the entire thing. And then on the back, we're going to put today's date. So today for me is the 10th of 2020 in April. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clip that here, and we are all set. So check back in with us.